Well, good afternoon, folks. It's an interesting day here at Slick Control. For those of you who've watched my previous videos about this Diversion 600, getting this swinging arm bolt out is, not swinging arm, engine bolt is absolutely a nightmare. And I've tried everything so far, so in the end I thought I'll get out Frankenwelder. Now this is an old stick welder which I've adorned with heat sinks off old computers. As you can see, this passed the safety inspection here at Slick Enterprises. We've had the health and safety man out who said it's absolutely safe, so I felt okay using it. So what I did was to weld an old spanner onto the bolt. It was a Whitworth spanner, and I thought, well, it's useless for anything these days, so I got out Frankenwelder. Yeah, those heat sinks, it used to cut out after about 30 seconds, but having put those heat sinks on many years ago, it runs forever. And safely, as you can see. So there it is, a Whitworth spanner welded onto the bolt head. So my theory was I could weld it on, get some leverage, and hopefully get the thing to move. Now, unfortunately, the result of that was that the Wix spanner, actually, having been heated, it just sort of bent, really. It didn't really give the leverage required. And the issue with this bolt is that it's got metal, it goes through metal sleeves on the engine mounting lugs, and it's rusted to it. And it rusted to a spacer tube, as you saw in the previous videos. So it's just, about 18 inches of rust fused onto this 12mm high tensile steel engine bolt, which is undrillable by any normal drill. It would take a pillar drill absolutely lined up to do it. So the spanner didn't work, so I then got a great big nut and welded the nut on. There it is, red hot. And I welded it onto the head of the nut, and it actually did get the bolt to turn. Yes, it turned, but unfortunately it was turning. One of the lugs nearest to the bolt head is like a top hat shape, and the flange of that, or the brim of the top hat, if you like, is butted up against the inside of the frame, and it just spun round, and it started to spin round in the engine mounting, the lug on the alloy frame, on the alloy engine. So it didn't accomplish anything, really. It just spun the top hat round, fused to the bolt. So in the end, I've gone for plan B. I'm going to replace the frame. These are not in short supply, and they're not particularly expensive. So that's the engine. You can see there the two cast alloy lugs, and then you've got the bolt head on the left, and it runs all the way through. There's a spacer tube in the middle, which I did another video about, slicing a line in it and putting brake fluid in, which normally releases rust, but oh no, it released the tube, yeah. But on the left hand side there, you'll see on the right of the lug there's just a protruding metal, and that is the top hat stuck in there. So I got a grinder with some thin steel cutting discs, and I'm going to replace the frame. I've actually bought one. It is massive mission creep, but to be honest, you could say, why bother? Well, because I want it to look nice. I want to do the bike, and it's quite interesting, I think, to do it. Frustrating. So there's the first part of the swinging of the centre stand tube cut out. And then the next photo shows the tube behind that. So I had to proceed very carefully so I didn't grind through the crankcase. This picture then shows both of the tubes removed. As you can see on the right of the picture there, you've got two sliced off tubes. And that gave me access to the actual bolt, which runs left to right all the way through. You can see on the left-hand cast lug, you've got a protruding metal piece. That's the top of the top hat, if you like, and the brim of it is on the left hand side, firmly stuck where that frame tube is, horizontal frame tube. So I cut the middle out. Now you can see the rust. The On the right-hand side, in the right lug, is a very expensive £36 anti-vibration rubber mount with a metal sleeve inside it. So, of course, you know, nightmare scenario, it's rusted to that as well. That's what I thought. But there is some light at the end of the tunnel. So having actually sliced the bolt, it very obligingly just came out at the right-hand side through the expensive anti-vibration mount. So that was something. And it didn't. The heat from the grinder didn't destroy the anti-vibration mount in the engine lug. So that's one good thing. And that half the bolt came out dead easy. The other side, I sheared through the frame tube and was able to remove that stump of bolt with that ginormous nut on that you saw in a previous picture glowing red hot. So that came straight out as well. However, it left a section in the top hat on the left lug. Now that top hat came out of the engine lug, fortunately, with a mole wrench. These are the bits. That's the central tube, that's the spacer tube, which I'll replace with stainless steel. It's just an internal diameter of 12 mil, looks to be about 2 mil thick, so readily available. I'll just buy a piece of pipe. I mean, they're 12 quid to buy new. So the result of it was the engine is now out of the frame, and here it is. One engine minus the frame. Now you could argue, why did you bother doing this? Well, yeah, I know. It's mission creep, as I said in my previous videos. But it'd be good to do it and get it done looking good. Nice powder-coated new frame. And here is the old frame minus the bits that I've ground off, as you can see. So that is now an X frame, which in a way is a shame, but you know, there's plenty of engines out there, so there's loads of these frames about. They're not rare. And this is the culprit. There it is, the top hat. The orientation of that, it's the other way around when it's on the bike. So you can see the brim of the top hat, and then you've got next to that a rubber, it's not a seal, it's just a sort of rubber ring. So I took that off. And if you look at these pictures here, this is the cause of the problem. There is the 12 mil high tensile steel engine bolt going through that sleeve, the top hat. And that top hat goes into the frame of the engine, and the brim of it means that you can't pull it out to one side. And if you look at that picture there, you'll see all that rust. I've heated it with a blow lamp, actually, it's not enough. So what it needs, I've ordered a new bolt actually, or a used one, because they don't make those anymore. And fortunately I don't have to buy that expensive rubber mount, nor do I have to buy that top hat, I think. All I've got to do, you can see it's 6 centimetres long, so there's 6 centimetres of rust, 12 mil in diameter, and that is enough to stop that moving. I've tried everything on it, heat, whacking it, everything. So I'm now going to put this component in my wood burner, and I'm going to heat the thing up really, really, really hot. Probably red hot to white hot actually in there. Once all the vents are open and everything, I'm going to really heat it. And I'm then going to try to tap out the stump of that bolt. And then that's the job done, really. Since the frame's off, I practiced putting it on the engine as well. So the engine's on its side, and I thought I'll practice doing that, and worked out how to do it and what bits to protect on the frame when it comes to putting the new frame on. So it's, yes, it's a labour of love, but, yes, and it's quite extreme, but there's no other way I know of trying to get that bolt out other than cut it out. And I spoke to breakers on eBay who were selling engines and said, look, how did you get the bolt out? And most people say they cut it. Or they use vast amounts of heat. Well, that's going to melt that 36 quid rubber mount on the right hand side. And I thought, okay, for the sake of a frame, and as I say, there's plenty of them. They're not expensive. These bikes are being scrapped now on a regular basis, so it will just mean changing the reg over, which is not an issue. They come with a V5, and I'll then be putting the engine into a newly powder coated frame, and onwards and upwards. So that's just a little update, and I'll let you know how I progress. So in the meantime, take care in this awful weather, and I will post again soon. Bye for now.